too, and then she'll come in shortly after that.
Great. I'd say let's just kick it off here. We're about 4 minutes past, and I got that. Usually we record stuff and just kind of put for people who can't be here live. So all this will be kind of up on our like YouTube that we just use as like an archive place. So I have the recording ready to go. So take it away, Mariella, and career launch.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Matt. And hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. And for those who will be watching this recording after the fact too, I'm going to go ahead and dive into today's presentation that will be highlighting the work that Career Launch does with TRIO programs across the country, specifically with focus on collegiate TRIO programs. And Matt, just to confirm, are people present here today mostly higher ed representatives, or we also have some pre-collegiate TRIO groups in the group today?
We had framed this one as like pretty SSS
Great.
specific. I'll let you know if I see one of the McNair folks in here, but we were building it around just the SSS programs. So
Awesome. Great to hear because yeah, I framed the presentation to be SSS specific too. So yes, with that, we can go ahead and dive in. This won't take up the entirety of the hour by any means. We'll try to keep it to, 15 to 20 minutes or so just to provide y'all with an overview. And then if this sounds of interest to, learn about further and bring to your true SSS students, then we can certainly connect. So let me share some visuals. That can help explain who Career Launch is if it's your first time learning about us. And so the focus kind of our work and what I'll be presenting on today is how our programming and curriculum empowers TRIO students to increase career-aligned social capital and career readiness. And so my personal role here at the organization is I'm one of the partners and vice president of Impact. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we'll have Destiny from Western Kentucky University. She is a current director of TRIO SSS, and she's one of our career launch partners. And so she wanted to come share a little bit about how she's implementing it with her group of students at her campus. And so I just want to spend 30 seconds here sharing a little bit of background on myself. I'm a proud first-gen student. I did not have TRIO on my campus, but I was part of AVID in high school, and I was part of my first-gen program at my college, which is actually how I went through the Career Launch program. I'm a civil engineer by training, and so it's helpful context to share with you all today that this Career Launch program was actually super pivotal in my career journey. I'm not a practicing civil engineer right now, and a lot of that was due to the career conversations I had through this programming, where I leveraged it to reach out to civil engineers where I didn't previously have any professional connections. I didn't have any social capital within the industry. And probably like many students, I had never even talked to a civil engineer prior to choosing my, major and area of study. So I was glad that this programming encouraged me to learn how to reach out to professionals, which we'll share here in just a moment how that's done. And so that's very core to our mission as a social enterprise. Our goal is to collaborate with colleges and TRIO programs all across the country to drive student employability, specifically by increasing career readiness skills and professional relationships, what we call career-aligned social capital. And you'll see here too that the career readiness skills, we refer to the NACE competencies because they're one of our exclusive partners. We're also in partnership with the Gates Foundation, Haku, and the Pell Institute, which is super exciting because we've been embarking on a 2-year research study understanding the relationship between career centers and TRIO SSS and EOC McNair programs, so the collegiate TRIO programs, and how they're equipping students for the workforce. So we'll actually be publishing a white paper later this summer on that. So more to come. And so many of you have lived experience with this and may be familiar with this statistic published late last year by Insight Higher Ed. And again, this is central to our mission of the fact that so many employers out there are hiring new employees through an informal channel, whether that's an existing professional connection, a family friend. And so a lot of what we believe in is Well, what if our students don't have those pre-existing connections with employers or companies that they might want to work at one day? And so kind of our curriculum and programming is centered around this idea of teaching students and actually empowering students to reach out and facilitate a one-to-one live conversation with an industry professional. So to clarify, we are not a platform. We are not connecting students with mentors or professionals. It's a step-by-step curriculum, and we offer soft training with this too on how to teach students a step-by-step approach to engage and reach out to professionals they have never met. Like I said, in my case, that it was reaching out to civil engineers to request a career conversation. And so I'll share a quick video here in just a moment that helps explain this a little bit better. But essentially how TRIO programs are implementing our programming is through this physical workbook that each student would receive, and it has this framework on how to network and reach out to professionals. They also receive microlearning videos, a NACE career readiness inventory to measure where they're at in their competencies. And this is typically for TRIO programs, can be done in a classroom setting if you have that structure in place. It can also be done co-curricularly as group coaching sessions, typically as a 4-week kind of month-long boot camp for students. And so here's a quick video. Let me just share my audio that kind of helps connect all the dots here on how it's used by other colleges and this idea of career-aligned social capital driving student employability.
You are a student and are likely attending school to one day find a good job. And you're not alone. Research shows that the #1 reason why people pursue a college degree or certificate is to get a good job. Finding a good job helps you spend your time in a fulfilling way, where you learn new skills and work on something you care about. Also, the compensation from your job can enable you to live the lifestyle you want. The average professional spends 90,000 hours of their life at their career, which equates to 1/3 of your life being spent at work. So, the question is, do you simply want to get a job that helps you achieve your financial goals, or do you want to get a job that you will find fulfilling and helps you achieve your financial goals? The Career Launch Program is here to help you enjoy the majority of those 90,000 hours. What is one of the best ways to learn about different types of jobs and careers? And also, what are the best ways to land internships, apprenticeships, and full-time jobs? The answer is simple, but will likely require you step out of your comfort zone. More than 90% of students spend most of their time trying to land an internship or job by applying online. What most students don't know is that the jobs posted online are only a small fraction of all jobs that are available. Only 20% of jobs are posted online, with the other 80% within the hidden job market, those found through word of mouth and referrals. To land these jobs, you need an internal advocate, or someone on the inside kind of looking out for you or creating an opportunity for you. Research shows that when you have an internal change advocate looking out for you, you're actually 12 times more likely to gain a job or internship. How do you find an internal advocate to help you land a job? The answer is through social capital. We all have existing social capital, people we know from the different areas of our life. You may already know some professionals through school, family, friends, or other social circles you're a part of. These are called strong, weak, and loose ties. Strong ties are people we know very well. Weak ties are people who you interact with less often or haven't seen in a long time. Loose ties are people who you haven't met but likely could be introduced to by a strong or weak tie. And no ties are those who you have no relationship to at all. Most students do not have relationships with employers. Don't worry. Career Launch will help you explore career paths, create these professional relationships from scratch within the organizations of interest, and access jobs and internships in the hidden job market.
You'll be supported every step of the way. You can take a readiness inventory,
Watch short micro-learning videos like this one. Use your physical career launch workbook and attend class or group coaching sessions. At the end of the program, you will take the Career Readiness Inventory again to see how much progress you've made in your career development. Want to learn how this program is helping students gain a competitive advantage? Check out the next video that will highlight the 8 steps of the career launch method.
So I hope that was a helpful overview. And as Destiny joins us, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what these 8 steps are and what the actual content and programming is that TRIO students would receive, and then kind of talk a little bit more about how, again, this is implemented within TRIO programs too. So, all right. So this 8-step framework that the video alluded to and that I mentioned I went through as a first-gen student myself is distilled from 15 years of student data. And the goal of this programming and this framework is really centered around helping students increase their confidence related to creating relationships from scratch with professionals. And so for many students, whether they're in their first or second year of college, that might be using these career conversations to be learning and exploring different career paths and options. At the same time, they're also going to be developing internal advocates. And for many students, like myself at the time, I was looking for internships. I was looking for ways to experience what it would be like to be, in the workforce of what I was studying. And so this idea of the hidden job market that the video mentioned is a way for these students to leverage the career conversations to ask about those opportunities. And so just to, at a very high level, again, explain what it is that this is essentially the table of contents of the workbook that students receive. It starts off with students doing self-reflection on, what their interests are, what their strengths are, ultimately leading to them creating a list of 10 companies or organizations that they might want to work for. Where from there, they're going to be doing strategic research and identifying mid-level professionals within those companies who they find interesting, who they find strategically beneficial, and we're coaching them on how to ethically find their contact information too. Before students reach out, though, to these professionals that they themselves are researching, we want students to work on their professional brand, making sure they have an email signature as well as a LinkedIn profile, if applicable. And then step 4 is where the rubber meets the road. Students are actually going to be reaching out to 5 professionals from their strategic contact list, and they're following an outreach strategy with the goal of scheduling this 20-minute career conversation. So you can imagine that for majority of students, this is nerve-wracking. It's out of their comfort zone to reach out to, again, someone they don't know, especially a professional at a company that they're interested in. So that's why you see here in the remainder of the career launch method, step 5 is all the scaffolding and etiquette preparation to help people and students prepare for these career conversations. And in step 6, leverage these career conversations into formal interviews if that's the student's goal. Step 7 is everything that happens after the career conversation, making sure the students send a thank you email and a handwritten thank you note, and learn different ways to keep the relationship alive. And lastly, some best practices on acing the job interview. So that is essentially kind of the 8-step framework that is walking students through this relationship building framework for them to feel a lot more comfortable and confident doing so. And so as you're reflecting on these steps, curious if you were doing this as a collegiate student yourself, or if you can take a moment to drop in the chat. Where would you say the majority of your TRIO SSS students that you work with fall on this spectrum, whether it's, the smiley bright green, whether it's the yellow or the red? Do you think it's something they're doing that they're comfortable with? If y'all can take a moment to drop in the chat, just from, your observations from your work directly with students. And I'm curious to see people's responses. And as you're chiming in, Matt, I think Destiny's in the waiting room. Appreciate you admitting her. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm seeing Andrew says bright red, Anna and Kai say, yeah, in the orange and red. Yeah. Anyone open to unmuting if possible or elaborating in the chat why you think that is? Why do you think they're kind of in the right-hand side of that orange and red uncomfortability?
I think for a lot of our students, they're not used to having a lot of face-to-face conversation with strangers in general, let
Right.
alone talking about, their own strengths or asking,
Yep.
kind of probing questions of someone else about, maybe things they like and don't like about a job or salary. So it's just like a combination of, um, yeah, multiple different factors that make it hard.
Definitely agree. Yeah, just maybe not being provided some opportunities to connect with professionals, or also the fact that this is something they may not have been explicitly taught, right, in high school, or within other classes or programs in at their college. So thanks for sharing, Andrew. Anyone else would kind of resonate with what Andrew shared, or other reasons why you think, yeah, your students could kind of use support and guidance in this idea of relationship building with employers? No worries. Yes, I think Matt, Destiny might be in a different waiting room, so let me just send her a quick note to hop on this one. Thank you. And so, yeah, Destiny is going to be joining us in just a minute here. She can answer any questions for you all on kind of her experience bringing this to students and the different ways that she's implemented it. So let me just send her a note that I sent a new link. And as we're waiting for Destiny to join, I just want to share a quick visual that represents some of the outcomes that would be tracked from implementing something like this. Like I mentioned, the confidence piece is a big one, and even encouraging students to reach out to TRIO alum, whether from it's their specific college or whether it's a TRIO alum from a different university. You can see here the percentages prior to the program. Students didn't feel confident reaching out to professionals they hadn't met. After the program, it went up to 82. And then similarly, knowing that it's okay for them to reach out to alumni to learn more about their career path. And so in order for a college to, I'm going to go back a couple slides here, to implement this tool, there is a 4-hour professional development training that comes along with the programming, and this is for staff and faculty. And so what's covered in these 4 hours is essentially, how do you embed social capital and cultural capital programming with student populations like TRIO, and how to help students get unstuck and using the different modes of delivery so that you can implement this again throughout any time during the semester. And this is all very plug and play. You would, as part of the training, receive access to a certified portal where you have facilitation guides, marketing support, everything you need for you to implement and walk your students through this idea of, by the end of the programming and by the time they go through the entirety of the workbook, they will have had a career conversation with a professional. And so curious if anyone in the group would be willing to share. I know some of you might be doing a lot of career readiness support for students, maybe whether that's in collaboration with your career center on campus or whether it's with another organization external to campus. Anyone would want to chime in into kind of what's working well in terms of supporting TRIO students' career readiness, and whether this aspect of career conversations and having them reach out to professionals is a current element of that. I know we're a shy group today, but curious if anyone would want to share.
Can I ask a question? This is Anna.
Sure.
Hi. Are students through this program encouraged to create their own connections versus the staff are not doing the work for them? The student is beating the bush, right?
That's exactly right, Anna. Yep. The TRIO staff member, whether it's a counselor, an advisor, is facilitating the curriculum that is teaching the student how to reach out to the professional or employer. So to clarify, yes, you're teaching and empowering the students to facilitate those connections themselves, as opposed to the staff member kind of connecting a student with a professional.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
And Matt, maybe a question for you is how do we connect students to alumni, TRIO alumni?
That gets tricky because most alumni kind of have the most close association with like the TRIO program that they went to. So in terms of like databases, like we don't have anything at the state level and even nationally because like most of their loyalties are kind of with the program that they went through. So often we kind of rely on the programs to go back through their databases or whatever contact info they have to try to reach back out and connect with folks. In general, the programs that do it well tend to have like a small list of pretty engaged alumni who
Right.
love the program and like to stay connected and be plugged into these kind of opportunities. But it's not like they have some list of 500 students. But that is like a challenge. Now you can always go back on like your APR and like try to find that information. Getting good contact information can be hard because if they stop using their school email once they graduate or move off from your program, that's why it can be kind of critical when they're exiting the program to almost have like a survey or some kind of like exit thing where you're getting contact, like personal email contact information that you can store separate from what you used when they were enrolled in the program. So I don't know.
Right.
That's complicated. It's not like even in my role and us at the state association, we don't have just this huge database of alumni.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Matt and Anna. And I'll just add that as part of the programming, we coach students how to identify those alumni, TRIO alum or alum of your college. If the school doesn't have an existing database, or if, Oregon TRIO Association doesn't have an existing database, how they can use tools like LinkedIn and other websites and platforms to identify those professionals. So kind of that's part of that step 2 strategic research step as well. Great. Awesome. I'm just going to highlight one more. Oh, I just saw Destiny pop in. I'll actually have Destiny chime in here first before I highlight the NACE Career Readiness Inventory. Sorry, Destiny, for the Zoom link confusion. I don't know what happened.
No problem. Glad to be here now.
Yes, thank you for joining us from Kentucky. And so I just for context, Destiny, I've shared with the group here, which are leaders SSS programs in the state of Oregon. Just a pretty high level overview of what Career Launch is in terms of it being a curriculum, right? That's walking students through this idea of reaching out to professionals to have career conversations. And so super excited for you to be here to share kind of what your experience has been like bringing this programming to your students, but also, as a current TRIO director, how what's worked well, what hasn't, how were you able to bring it to your students? And so I'll kind of pass the floor to you now that the group here has some context, and then everyone here in the group, you're welcome to ask Destiny or myself some questions as she shares a little bit about their implementation and experience. So thanks, Destiny.
Thanks, Marielle. Well, it's so great to be among TRIO folks. TRIO works, am I right? So I just wanted to let you all know a little bit about how Career Launch came into our purview. I actually was looking for a career assessment for our students. I came from a high school background, and so in a high school setting, I've got a captive audience, right? And so there were some assessments that were much longer that just did not translate well into the college space. And so finding Career Launch was great because the assessment was very easy to administer. The students were able to do it from their phones. We actually incorporated it into our orientation program. And then when I actually got a chance to see the results and walk through those results with our students and have some real conversations with them about ways that they can improve and ways that they can improve through resources available on our campus, I was sold. But when I first purchased it, I did not know the full scope of what Career Launch could do. And so I was really thankful because I had a great call, and it was explained about the data dashboard, and then also the workbook and the coaching sessions and being trained as a facilitator, et cetera. And I thought, wow, this is really full service. I need to get more eyes on this. And so I ended up partnering with our First Gen Leadership Network on campus, First Gen Scholars Network on campus. And we talked it through. And then I also talked with our Career Development Office. We talked it through. And then what was nice is that we all came together and we were able to do some cost sharing that allowed us to then have a larger cohort of students participate in the full scope of what Career Launch has to offer. And because I got the director of career development to look at it as well, that for us meant the potential that more students could use it. And I loved that, right? Because I got to see firsthand the impact it had on our students. So all that to say, we decided to run it as a 4-session model. So we had 4 of the hour sessions with our students. We did have the first session a little bit longer, and that allowed for them to talk through some LinkedIn things and really get familiar with our career development office, which was a bonus for them. And then we were able to sort of walk them through the steps, coach them through. We were able to have some calls between sessions, but also they got the micro learning videos between sessions. And so between that and the student portal, they had everything they needed. And my counterpart in the career development office and I were both trained as facilitators. And through the facilitator portal, we had everything we needed. And it was just nice. It was simple, right? We have a million irons in the fire, as you all know, with TRIO. Our students are high need. And so it was really nice to be able to have something that was very simple to launch. And so, yeah, so you can see the 4-week experience there. We hosted it mostly just like that. The first time we did have a spring break week in the middle. So then the second time we ran it through, we ended up having 4 straight sessions, and we're able to tweak some things that we needed to for our campus. But what was really nice, I think, is that at the very end, we partnered with our alumni association, and they started this program called Alumni Career Consultants. And these were people who had identified that they wanted to help students with careers. And so it was nice because we had an awards ceremony. So part of the facilitator portal is that you have these certificates that are ready to roll for your students. And so we were able to have a nice sort of ceremony for our students. They were able to give their 1-minute background in front of all of these alumni professionals who said they wanted to help them. And it was great because they immediately put their career launch experience to use. And it made them feel so empowered to be able to say, wow, they learned that they didn't have to wait for somebody to put something in their lap, right? Like they could have some discernment about what they wanted, and then they could go make it happen. So we did see a lot of students light up about their experience with Career Launch.
Thank you, Destiny. And I just want to add one more visual here before we kind of open the floor for questions of when students complete the Career Launch experience, they are eligible to receive this digital badge that you can see here. Oops, hopefully I didn't freeze. But this digital badge of completion, which is focused on professional relationship building and NACE career readiness competencies to help students explain, right, as they have this on their LinkedIn or in other online portfolios, that they've gone through this curriculum that has prepped them to engage with professionals as well. And so this is something students will take with them in addition to what this measurement piece that Destiny was talking about. The last thing I wanted to share with you all was the NACE Career Readiness Inventory, which is a measurement tool colleges are using to understand where students are at in the competencies, but also in students' social capital development, in life design mindsets and career mobility best practices. So this is different than career assessments like Strengths Finders and Clifton Strengths. Those are summative. This is actually a formative tool, which is the main purpose is to help students understand where they're at in these different areas, but then also leads to a data analytics that you all have visibility into to see how students are doing based on grade level, based on area of study. And so again, different schools are using it in different capacities. Some of your students who might be doing work study, that can be an area where this is implemented. And just to show you a preview of what that looks like to help students with the awareness component of these competencies, here's a visual of it being broken down per competency. There's recommendations on how they can improve. And then again, this is student facing. Similarly, you would have one too that's leadership facing, and you can segment and see where all of your TRIO students are at as well. Whether like Destiny, you have this as something they take in a 10-minute engagement with an orientation for you to capture all of that upon entry baseline data, and then have them take it again at some event a year or two after to track their growth. That's completely up to you. So again, this is the NACE inventory as part of the immersive experience, along with the curriculum, which is the workbook and the microlearning videos that I briefly shared with you earlier today. And so we'll pause there. There's a lot more we can share, but we just kind of want to take the time today to provide an overview. And if this does sound of interest to you all, what we can do is I'm going to drop a link here in the chat and can also share my screen. We can have one-to-one conversations after today if you would like to hear kind of different flexible implementation options. The 4-week model that Destiny and I shared is just one way that TRIO programs are doing it, but we can again share a couple others that might work best with the structures and current programs y'all already have in place. So while that link is being dropped in the chat, or if you prefer to scan a QR code, it'll take you to the same place. If you'd like to stay in touch or learn more after today, we'd love to connect with you. And yeah, curious if anyone has questions about everything you've learned so far today. Thank you, Destiny.
Marielle, I'm
happy to
sure.
help.
Yeah, Destiny, thank you so much. And Marielle, I'm sure you have data that shows students who are alumni of the Career Launch program, how much more likely they are to obtain a successful job after, post-graduation. Is that information available?
Great question, Anna. So that is information we're in the process of collecting right now, since it's, sometimes longitudinal from tracking students across multiple years. And there's also lots of factors because we know that some students might be applying online and having these career conversations, and other programs or events that they're a part of that could lead to employment. And so we're embarking on a RCT study that's doing kind of A/B testing on students receiving a full-time employment opportunity, whether it was connected to the Career Launch program, if it was part of a class or a co-curricular opportunity, versus those who did not. So we don't have that data to share as of right now, Anna, but it is something that we're currently collecting. And even in this white paper I mentioned with the Pell Institute, we're kind of sharing how TRIO students in the collegiate level are doing in regards to employability and being prepared for the workforce. So all still in development, but very exciting conversation, since you've seen probably the data, right, of right now college graduates are graduating, but they're not finding employment that's also related to their area of study or that requires a collegiate degree.
Thank you. And one last question, then I'll be
Sure.
quiet.
No worries. Appreciate it.
Is there a career side of this where employers can log in and offer to serve as a resource to students and as a recruiting tool?
Good question, Anna. Not as of now. We don't have like a platform or login site for employers to connect with students. It really is kind of on the reverse side where students are the ones researching and reaching out to the professionals, and that's how they're connecting and having those conversations. So yes, I hope that answers your question of it's really propelled by the student research and them taking action to reach out.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
And just a little context. So I sit on our state's as part of the Workforce and Talent Development Board, there's like an employability skill subcommittee on there. So I can tell you that in Oregon, a lot of the employers like really want to see more of these like employability skill elements in it. They're like, we get it that a lot of times they come in with degrees, but like some of those core communication, just knowledge, like comfort, ability to talk to another person may not be there, even if your academics are thriving. So I can at least say that the idea of the badging and those kind of subsidiary skills are at least a value from what we've heard on the workforce and talent development side.
Thank you for sharing, Matt. Curious if there are other questions from the group. Let me check out the chat too. And because I shared with you all that my background's in engineering, I love data and numbers. And so just to kind of tie the knot on Matt's comment on these more human skills that employers are looking for, just wanted to share this last data point from NACE, our partner. What you see listed here on the competencies are the 8 skills that employers value the most that they've been researching over the last 10 years. And so I think, Matt, this is representative of what you just shared, where employers rank these as very important and what they look for when they're hiring talent. But in terms of the student's proficiency when they're preparing to enter the workforce, is not meeting that level. And so there's obviously a really huge differential there. So our mission is to, well, how do we help close that gap? And we found that one way to do that, right, in addition to all the great work you're doing and your career centers are doing, is to teach students the skill set of connecting with professionals. So just want to add that data as well. And we can share these visuals with you all after today too. But we'll see if there's any other questions, and if not, we can wrap up for the day, and appreciate everyone's questions and attention as we shared a little bit about our work.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marielle, and thank you, Destiny, for joining us. I'm sure time zones is much later where you are than where we are too. So
Yes, much appreciated, Destiny. I know time for you and all of us here on the West Coast in a little bit too. So appreciate you joining us.
Happy to be here for sure and would share all day long. So seriously, if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out. Oh, thank you, Anna. That's so nice. I appreciate that.
Thanks, everyone. I dropped my email there in the chat, and so look forward to staying in touch after today as well. So thank you, Matt and Robin, for the invitation for us to join today.